See, you threw me off. I'd like to call the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting to order. First item on our agenda today is roll call, please.
Mrs. Root,
Here?
Mrs. Hanchett,
Here.
Mr. Barnes,
Present.
Mr. Curran,
Here.
Mr. Havey,
Here.
Mr. Healy,
Here.
Mr. Ricky,
Here.
Mrs. Ricketts Swales, and Mr. Harris. 8 present.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that as part of our agenda today, we received a monthly report from Ashley Smith, the Director of Economic Development, Craig Clark, Industrial Development Agency, Keir Durham, Director of Planning, and Rita Sobeck Lynch, Employment and Training Program Director. They're all in our packet. And there are one-page forms, and if you have any questions, you can follow up with them later. Today, we're going to have a presentation by all 4 of them. They've put together a very nice PowerPoint for us on the state of economic development in Allegheny County. We're going to call them up one by one, and I guess, Ashley, will you be kicking off this PowerPoint? Craig Clark is not here today. Come on up, Ashley. And he is off, I think, annual teaching a class that he teaches, and Ashley's going to fill in for Craig today. So, Ashley, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
And they all will come up and do their section, but we'll start with you. Thank you.
Brenda, are you ready?
It came in a separate email. No, it's in your email.
I know. Well, I know. You just told me that.
Hey, while we're waiting, can we move on to the action item? Does that make sense?
The MOE?
While we're waiting for the PowerPoint to come up?
Sure.
So we have a reappropriation of unspent funds for the Trail Master Plan grant. Kira, are you going to speak on that?
Myself or the treasurer? It's just, it's the funds we got last year,
Right?
and it had to be carried over to this year.
Okay.
We expect it to be completed this year, so we shouldn't have to do it again for next
Okay.
year.
So I'll entertain a motion for that.
Havey will move that.
Second?
Helio, second.
Any questions? Now I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Kier. Brenda, are we ready?
You want me to dance?
Would you please?
I just want to note that this is mostly for Phil Stockin. The planning board meeting tonight is canceled. So don't try to zoom in.
Would you like us to proceed without the slides on the screen? It'll be a little tougher, but,
I got mine.
okay.
So this is a little bit different than what we normally do, and the department heads have put together a very nice PowerPoint describing all the projects that have been going on, a little update, a status where we are. Sometimes it's really hard to get this message out. There's a lot going on in Allegheny County, and this is a way that we can pull it all together and focus on it, and hopefully spread the word of all the good things that are actually happening in Allegheny County. Do you want to just start, Ashley, with the first couple slides? I think they're a kind of an overview of the county.
Yep, so the first couple slides are just a high-level overview of just some demographic information for the entire county. Just starts off with the county population according to the last census, 46,651. The median age across the county is 38.9 years old. Average household size is 2.5 people. And our median household income is $61,223, which is actually a little bit higher than it was when we did the summit in October. Sorry, hang We do have a total number of households across the county, 17,057. And that mix, if you saw a graph on the screen, it would be a comparison to New York State and across the U.S. That the U.S. is a little bit more than half of the households own their homes. New York State, it is almost at half. And then in Allegheny County, we're fortunate enough that of those 17,000 households, we are over 3/4 of them own their own homes here. So that's great to see. Outside of that, our median property value is $98,000, and our monthly median monthly rent across the county is $754. So we thought it was pretty important just to share some of those overall demographic informations relative to the entire county. And I'm not going to get into the employment side. I'm going to let Rita come up and share a little bit about employment and talk about the unemployment rate for us. Do you have your slides? Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. I wanted to give you a little bit of labor market information about Allegheny County. So in 2024, the average annual employment, the AAE in Allegheny County, the total for non-farm employees was 15,700, and for private industry and businesses, it was 11,300 employees. Both figures are at all-time highs going back to 1990. Individual industries that were strong in 2024 and look good for 2025 are always private education and health services, so that is no surprise, and along with leisure and hospitality.
So Rita, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we talked about, non-farm private. Are there figures out there for the non-private or industry?
Yeah, those are going to be for next month.
Oh, okay.
Because when I found these figures, and I'm like, we don't really have farming figures or other things in there too, so stay tuned.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
And we're up and running with the PowerPoint. Thank you.
Okay. So on the next slide, we have the local area unemployment statistics, and these are for 2024. The labor force was 19,700. Those that were employed were 18,900. Unemployed were 800, and the unemployment rate was an average of 4.1%. So that should be no surprise since I try to report every month on that. The labor force is the strongest it's been going back to 2020, and then the unemployment rate is near the lowest it has been going back to 1990. I'm going to skip over, yeah, Mike.
So going back to the employment numbers there, and unemployment rate 4.1%. That doesn't include anybody that's retired on services or disability or anything like that. Nobody is not looking for work, is it correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it's not, I guess, an accurate picture of the situation, would you say, in New York State or in our county, at least?
I think it's as accurate as we can get based on the formula that they use, and I think we reported on that a couple times, but if you'd like to see it again, it's kind of confusing. And then they just came out with a January rate, so they've done another comparables for it, so the January rate should be pretty much on mark for what the unemployment really is.
There's still no work requirement in New York, correct?
Yes, there is a work requirement. If
Is
you're
it?
receiving unemployment, yes.
For unemployment? Okay, thank you.
Okay, to talk a little bit about our statistics, in January of 2025, we had 17,
Rita, Mr. Barnes has a question.
oh, I'm sorry, Gary.
Turn your mic on.
18,900 employed in the county as of now, correct?
That was last year.
Now, as of 24. The 24, the total income for that 18,900 in 24, how would that compare to 2020? Do you be able to have that information?
I did not look at any of the income information. Would you like to see
What
that?
what I'm getting at is, you're saying that our employment is the best since 1990. My concern is, are the jobs that, or that 18,900, are they making anywhere near what they were in real dollars in 1990, I guess? You don't have that information?
Not with
It
me.
would be helpful.
Okay, we'll try to get that for you, Gary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, in January of this year, the unemployment rate was 5.5. Last year, it was 5.7. These are just talking points because there were a lot of slides. Okay, and so when I looked at everybody that applied for unemployment in January, the main reason really was lack of work, and it was seasonal jobs. Let's see. Other were just like a handful that don't give any reason at all, and 2 people were fired. And in the month of February, there were 16 applicants for unemployment. And in March through the 18th, there were a total of 16. 1 person was fired, 4 were on strike, and the rest were for lack of work. So again, these are seasonal jobs, and the work will probably start picking up in the month of April. So again, it's not unusual to see high unemployment in this time of year, and we'll probably see it again in June.
So they're basically construction and ag jobs?
Those kinds of things, yes.
Yep.
So as of yesterday, the jobs listed in Allegheny County were 56 open positions. Of those, some were in healthcare, that was number 1. The rest were in the nonprofit sector, education, manufacturing and production, trucking and transport, food service, and others. So it's kind of across the gamut. And the trends that we're seeing in our office, the biggest trend lately I reported on is the need for resumes. And the number of people that are age 50 and older that are coming in that have been retired, they're actually looking for work. They're looking for full-time, part-time work. They need resumes and job search assistance. So they're not finding that they have enough to live on with the money they're currently making through their retirement or Social Security, and they're just looking for extra income.
That's interesting.
Any questions? Okay, the last item is good news. Right now, there is WIOA funding for on-the-job training. It's coming through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Grant, and it's funneled through the Department of Labor. So that would be Frank McAndrew or Jason Miller from the Cattaraugus Allegheny Workforce Development Board. And I put in all the incentives that are in here. So if you have up to 250 employees, you will be reimbursed for 75% of their wages up to $15,000 per employee. So we met yesterday, and we have about 4 or 5 businesses in Allegheny County that are currently interested and/or are participating. There's a couple of pages you have to fill out so we can do our vetting with the Department of Labor, and then there's a training plan for each employee. So it's very unusual, but it's a large pot of money, and it's available now.
And so that, again, is for businesses of 200 employees?
250. If it's more than 250, then the reimbursement is less.
Oh, but smaller than that, this program isn't available?
Yes.
Okay.
Any questions?
And you have 15 employers that are interested that you haven't really vetted through yet, or?
We have about 5 that are in the
5,
process.
okay.
Some are already vetted, and some have already started, and some are just starting. But in our office, we've sent it out to all of the chambers of commerce, who sent them to all of their members, and over 400 businesses. So, and it sounds too good to be true, and this is one of those things that's really not. The money is out there.
I guess in my mind, I was thinking, what businesses that have 250 employees?
Yep.
So it is what it is, what they put it out for. I understand that, but
Yeah, we had one firm and got a new piece of equipment, and they trained 6 employees on it, so they got $90,000. So that's a really good incentive if you've got a new employee, or if you're training somebody for a different position, so you can have people cross-trained. There's really not a lot of rules. So please share that. Have people call me if they have any questions.
Madam Chair,
Yes, I'm
I think we
sorry.
need some clarification. Employers of 250 or less are eligible for the 75% reimbursement. Employers over 250 are also eligible, but at a lower reimbursement rate.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, because that was blowing my mind. That, I was going to ask you what
It's
was
really-
available for companies, smaller companies, but,
It's really meant for
Up
small
to.
businesses,
Up
and that's why the
to.
reimbursement is higher.
okay. Good point, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Rita?
All right, thank you.
Okay. Up next, Kira Durham is going to talk about recent planning accomplishments and what's going on in the world of planning.
You took my intro. Okay. So, things we accomplished latter part of last year included assisting the village and town of Wellsville with their comprehensive plan update. That was what I'd consider a mild update, meaning we updated the demographics, we updated the maps, and it was primarily because their old plan was done in 2017, so it was over 5 years old, and they had received funding from the state that required them to make updates to their plan in order to be in compliance with the state rules. So there's actually a little bit of talk about maybe getting back to work on it and doing some more work on it, but we'll see where that goes. But that was finished in August. And then we assisted the town of Belfast in creating their very first comprehensive plan. I'm on to the next slide there, Brenda. Assisted the town of Belfast with their very first comprehensive plan. That was approved by their town board beginning in December. It's a very nice plan. I may have some good news to share in April on that. That's a teaser. And we assisted the town of Hume with their comprehensive plan update. Their last plan dated back to 2010. It was sort of middle of the road as much as about the work levels. And they approved it at the beginning of January this year. So that was, those are a lot of work. Those are 12 to 18 months typically of staff and town and village people doing work on those. They're not a 5-minute process, so.
So, Kier, before you move on.
Sure.
2 questions about these comprehensive plans. First of all, can you give us a really quick overview of why it's important for the towns and villages to do this long, hard work, and what the advantages is for them once they have them? And how many other towns have we done them for?
A lot.
So
I give you that. I believe that over the last 15 years, I've probably been involved with 18 community comprehensive plan updates or creations. So some of them are multiple times. If they're proactive, like Wellsville, came back, and Hume came back. So I've been involved with each of those twice. Alfred twice. Yeah. So they have to be done in order to be in compliance for grants. They help you get grants. So if you have an up-to-date plan, it gets you a few more points when you apply to New York State for different projects. They want it every 5 years or less. But the other important reason to be updating it very regularly is to support your legal basis for the laws you're passing. So that's typically thought of as zoning specific, but it's not just zoning. If you want to put in a site plan review law, you don't have zoning. If you want solar laws, battery storage laws, all these other kinds of laws, and you haven't written anything in your comprehensive plan, then it's, more likely that it could be challenged because your comprehensive plan, let's just say you're doing solar, you have nothing in your comprehensive plan about solar, then theoretically somebody could challenge it. So this is really the basis of a lot of those efforts, community development efforts, things like that.
I'm going to go back. What percentage of the towns that exist in Allegheny County don't have comprehensive plans?
We're probably at about half.
Have.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I got to make a new map soon with that information because I don't have one with these guys on it.
Mrs. Root, can I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that when you do this, there is no charge to the towns or villages, correct?
Yeah, this
Right,
is
yes, this is a really
totally
good-
a shared service kind of thing. There's no other paid planning staff in the county, which is somewhat unusual compared to other places. So we provide those services as a norm. Most communities in our county could not afford to pay outside consultants. The value to a community is generally in excess of $100,000 of service that we're providing. Not our time, but that's what we see when we see RFPs going out. For consultants, it's in that $80,000 to $120,000 range that other towns and bigger places would be charging. So it's a real value to our communities. And it's good for the county to have these because it keeps our communities moving forward. So
Here's another quick question. Do the towns have to have a planning board to enter into this comprehensive plan?
not to create the comprehensive plan. Usually, if they don't have a planning board, then one of the recommendations during that process becomes that they really ought to create a planning board. And
Okay.
so, because then there's a steady group that's thinking about the future and things that are being built in their community. And in many cases, they're given authority to do site plan review or other types of project reviews. And that takes the energy that the town board or village board would have had to expend and adds 5 more heads to work on all these things. And so I often call them the research and development arm of your community because they're tagged right in their laws to research, review the laws, all those kinds of things. That's what they should be doing. If the town board has questions and they don't have time to work on it, task the planning board to go figure it out and come back with some answers.
Okay, thank you.
Continuing on with the funky green map on the next slide, we assisted the town of Almond with a new zoning law. It was the first new version of that law that dated back to the 1970s. It was a many year process. Not so much on our end, but the volunteers have to really think about this. I'm not sure I would recommend doing a lot of zoning law effort on our part in the future, having gone through this process, but I think we really ended up with a nice zoning law. If you are ever challenged, the definitions in that Almond law are like the best list of definitions I've ever seen. So you can reuse that. That's okay. So we finished that project in 2024 in September. The last big project, we completed the multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan for all 29 towns and 10 villages and the county. It was approved by New York State DSHS and by FEMA in the fall. We're still working to get all the towns and villages to officially approve it. We're getting closer, so that's good. They have to do that by the anniversary date of the approval of the plan. So hopefully we can get them all signed on. And then that means that they are able to apply for hazard mitigation grants through FEMA. So every time there's a natural disaster, 15% of the money that's allocated for that disaster is set aside for hazard mitigation projects. Those are sunny day projects, not during the storm projects. These are like, that darn culvert always floods, or the bridge just can't handle today's runoff, or your community center needs a generator because that's your designated location to go during a disaster. Those are sunny day projects that hazard mitigation will pay for. So that's the gist of that. We've already, by the way, had an internal meeting on keeping that plan as up to date as possible and starting to work on our annual update of it. So, we were successful last year in getting the comprehensive sewer study, the trail master plan, and the housing study grants with assistance from Delta and internally. We have received the grant. We've done all the legalese. Consultant was selected, and the project has been going for the sewer study since October. The trail master plan received and processed the legal. Consultant was selected, and the project's been going for about 2.5 months. They're actively, in both those cases, they're actively setting up stakeholder meetings right now and getting ready to do all that intake of data. And the housing study was received. You just approved it last month, and the RFP is prepared, just getting final review before that gets sent out for proposals. Upcoming projects, wanted to let you know that Eagle View, they had gotten to about 40% on their flyover. And, well, you're all over the place up there. That's not me.
Explain what Eagle
Eagle
View
View
is.
Econometry, the aerial flyover. They will, they had started last November, but the snow hit too early, too fast. We were at about 35-40% done, and you can see in the pictures that there's snow on the ground in the last set. And they let me know that they're just going to refly the whole county and start over in the coming month. So we should have that data in the coming couple months. They also, as part of that project, do the analysis to see which buildings have had additions, which buildings have been demolished, and new buildings, and they create a way for the assessors to compare from our 23 flight to this flight. And so if your assessor isn't doing that, they need to get training, then they need to just call me because we can get them training. That's not a problem. Some assessors are doing great, but it's a great little program that actually gives them a short list from the 2006 flight to 23. And so you say it's the town of Alfred, it'll say these properties had some sort of change. And if you just want the big changes, you just put in more than 80% changed. And it'll just give you a short list that there's something big and different there, and it'll take you right to the site. They can look around at it, what happened to it. It gives you a value right in there. So if they're not using this software, they're kind of wasting their time and not getting the tax money that you probably ought to.
All that information is also useful in, not only for the county, but also for our local municipalities,
Yes.
fire districts, whatever, in their grant funding applications, correct?
Yep. That any town or village and related agency, I can give them a login.
Thank you.
Quickly, just wrapping up this update to various other comprehensive plans. We're working with the EMS office on emergency plan updates, working with Ashley and our team on economic development plans. We're going to complete those 3 grants in the coming year or so. And in the next few months, we're kicking off the county's comprehensive plan, which I'm hopeful it'll be done in less than 18 months. But that's no short list either. So that's my stuff.
Thank you. Any other questions for Keir before he steps away? It was very interesting. I learned a lot.
And now, here's Ashley.
We're going to turn it back over to Ashley, and she's going to talk about economic development and recent accomplishments.
Thank you. So this month actually marks my 10th month in the role, and so a few things to share as far as recent accomplishments over that 10-month tenure. We did host our first annual Economic Development Summit in October of last year. It was decently attended. We'll continue to do that over the next, upcoming years. We were able to identify and implement new software and technology for the Office of Economic Development, and all of that has been implemented and is currently in use. We have we completed and brought to committee, which was passed and approved, the business attraction, retention, and expansion policy, and that is also currently in effect. We have spent quite a lot of outreach to local businesses and have started actual BRE meetings, which are annual business meetings that take place to just understand the needs and issues that businesses are running into and how our office can help assist in that. We made contact with four site selection firms over the last handful of months. That information was invaluable. It was a lot of question as to what we don't have, and so we've spent the last few months making sure that we can answer all the questions that site selectors are looking for, and that outreach will be taking place soon. Initial conversations were held with all three of our academic institutions, and there's been some conversation about workforce development initiatives with all of them. More of that to come in the future. And then Craig and I facilitated a roundtable with what should have been all of our utility partners, our power partners, ended up only being one, but that's okay. And so it gave us a better picture of what the process for development projects needs to look like when we need to pull in those utility individuals. You can go to the next slide, Brenda. Recent accomplishments continued. We completed all of the 2024 action items or initiatives that were on the 5-year plan that you all saw in the summer. A new version of that will be coming soon. Transfer of tourism took place as of January 2nd, and so that is under the umbrella of economic development. I was able to fill the position of deputy director with Michelle Linza. We were able to assist the small business, the SBDC out of Jamestown currently in a partnership with AU. And so they're hoping to take some office space and hold regular office hours in Allegheny County. We did launch our regional coalition of agencies for Allegheny County, which we refer to it as the Regional Economic Development Team. And some of those partners are Workforce Development, the SBDC, Accord, the Chambers, the team that's presenting today, and then I'm missing somebody, Cornell, and probably a couple that I missed, but apologies to them. I was also able to fill the position for the Marketing and Development Specialist on my team with Melissa Biddle. And according to Camoins' strategic plan, we have executed 46% of that, which sounds amazing, but those were all the really easy tasks. And the remainder of that is going to take the next 4 years. So upcoming projects for my office, we will be continuing the efforts with that regional coalition of agencies. We do have a 2025 initiative, which is to pilot 4 education sessions for all businesses throughout the county. That's going to take place, the first one will be in June. We just had a work session on that. It is a joint effort of all of the agencies to pull together necessary information to support our businesses in growth and development, as well as entrepreneurs that are looking to buy businesses and or start businesses, and succession planning for those that are looking to make their exit. And so hopefully, we're hoping the pilot goes well, and we'll continue those efforts into 2026, so stay tuned for more information on that. We are continuing our relationship building efforts at obviously the regional, state, and federal levels. We've made a lot of connections. We're really excited about some of the partnerships we've created, and that's going to be an ongoing effort. Our BRE efforts, as I mentioned earlier, so that outreach to businesses, as well as some additional I'll say efforts. So we're putting together a business resource workshop or a pop-up in partnership with the SBDC. That's going to take place April 15th at the Belmont Library. I believe that one is 4 to 6, but we'll be posting it on social media and creating an event for exact time. We're also pulling together a business recognition event in honor of Small Business Recognition Week in May. Our SBDC and SBA partners will be attending that event. There's some recognition that they're going to be showcasing. From the SBA, we ran a little nomination series, if you remember, way back when. According to them, out of 14 counties that this district has, the Allegheny County had the most businesses recognized for SBA nominations, so that was really exciting. So we'll be showcasing that at that event as well. We will be opening up a new nomination session for our small businesses, and so again, more information to come on that. It'll be on our social media, and we'll be creating just some marketing materials for that. And then industry workshops will hopefully be beginning in June. And so that's really my effort to reach out to our, larger sectors to pull them and their partners together for conversations on how we can grow different entities like manufacturing and distribution and things of that nature. And telecommunications, that's a big one as well. Additionally, my office is working on 5 very early stage attraction deals. I mentioned the technology that we've been able to implement, and so there is a pipeline tracker that I can actually quantify these deals in. And so nothing is, set in stone and nothing has been confirmed. So again, very infant in these, but if they come to fruition, we're looking at about $14 million of investment into the county. Again, site selector outreach will begin in April on a national level, and then continued discussions with our partners at all 3 colleges on workforce development initiatives, and work with the up-and-coming EDO.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions for me before I try to do
hats.
justice to Craig's slides?
Okay, move on ahead.
So just speaking on a couple things for our partner in the IDA, they've done some work with the Alley-Cat Wind Project. That's obviously taking place now. If I'm not mistaken, construction started this year. It's a total of about $414 million in financial assistance. It's equivalent of 28 turbines, which is 126 megawatts of power. It is creating, or will create when it's, in its prime, 400 construction jobs. And so those pilots are looking at about a 20-year run with an, overall average installment of $630,000 in those communities. You can go to the next one. Small-scale solar projects. There are quite a few that the IDA has participated in and are working through. Currently, they've approved 21 small-scale, and those are all the 5 megawatt size. Of all of them, the total megawatts created or being produced was 90 megawatts of power. They do have quite a few that have been closed, some that are under construction, and then a few that are completed. Again, those are, 20 to 35-year range for those pilots, with about $225,000 of investment in those communities on an annual basis. The IDA is, they have put forward the micro enterprise grant program previously and are going to be doing so again this year. They were able to award 10 businesses under the previous grant and are putting forward an extension of another $300,000. That'll be dispersed this year, and their hope is for 11 businesses to be a recipient of that. As far as additional support, they were able to provide the $1 million of CARE grant money in 2024. There were 22 companies they identified, and 20 were able to receive funds under that grant. For the Gateway project, so we've heard a little bit about that over the past, handful of weeks. From the IDA's perspective, they are waiting on just a timeline relative to water and sewer, and I know there's some grants that are thrown into the mix of that. But as far as the engineering from the IDA's perspective, that piece has been completed. The road is currently in process of being roughed in, County Road 51. And I think I understood from Tom that's pretty close. And then again, just waiting for the overall timeline for the IDA to go out and get a tangible commitment from a hotel. Next. All right, so the IDA was an instrumental part of Alfred University's new sports facility complex. They were able to support that $35 million project with a $25 million bond. That did start construction in 2024. And on the docket for this year is the $500,000 EPA Brownfield grant that the IDA received. They have selected are reviewing the consultants and will be selecting soon, so that work can start mid-year this year. For the Wellsville Business Park, just continued efforts working with that team and filling the space that is still available. If I understand correctly, I think half of that building is currently occupied. And then they recently formed the Allegheny County Local Development Corporation, and there's currently work being done to start a revolving loan fund that they're hoping to be able to launch in 2025. I think that's the last slide.
That is the last.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Is there any questions?
Any questions I can take back for Craig?
Yeah.
I do not promise to be able to answer them.
I won't put you on the spot, but maybe Kier could answer too. I know when we were talking about all those solar fields coming and parks coming, we were talking about the capacity. You know, that is what we seem to be running into, the capacity to be able to support them. And I wondered if we made any progress on finding out what the capacity was. I know at one point you could go to, is it RG&E's or one of the other websites and look at that? And all of a sudden, when people were looking at it, it wasn't there anymore. I don't know if it's back up or if you found out anything. Kier.
I haven't looked at that in a couple months, but there is supposedly a data set out there that these companies are utilizing to show that they actually will have enough capacity. And that's from the developer talking to us,
Right.
saying, we're not going to build something if we're never going to be able to put it in, because we're not, a lot of the deals are based on actually operating. So they don't want to get too far out either. So
Well,
I
I
believe
guess-
they're taking that into account in their current applications. I can't say about the previous ones.
Okay, that's what I was saying. Previous ones, it seems like we've run into problems with not having the capacity to keep them going, from what my understanding is. So,
It's all a little nebulous, I will
yeah,
admit.
it is, so. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for this group while we have them? Yes, Mr. Healy.
Well, I know Mr. Clark's not here, but it was my understanding in the last couple of times I've had a conversation with him that he has a commitment from a hotel for down to Crossroads at the Gateway project that's pending further development of certain infrastructure there. Is that correct? Or-
That is correct, yes.
And that would be instrumental in maybe getting other development down there also, correct?
Also correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I want to thank you all for putting all that time and effort into this. Nice presentation. And it was a good summary of where we've been over the last 12 months. A lot going on, and sometimes we lose track of everything that's going on, or we just don't know what's going on. So I found this very informative. Thank you all. So with that, do we have anything for the good of the order today? If not, I'll ask for an adjournment.
Rick, you move.
Okay, second? Okay,
Hayfield second.
okay, all